So let's talk about forgiveness here on Speak Them Saturday, and I want to talk about not just forgiveness and why it's important, because I've seen some people ask me about this, like forgiving people and whatnot, but also a very personal story I want to tell about my brother and his passing that happened last year, because it has to do with forgiveness. It has to do with all that. Um, I don't talk about. There's a lot of things, and I said this on my Speak Them last week about like you don't really know the person, and it was all about everyone's journey. You don't really know what's going on, But I had issues. I have had issues with people since I started doing YouTube. A lot of it was behind the scenes. A lot of it was kept in closed doors. A lot of it was somewhat public, but I managed to resolve my issues with a lot of people. Right now, I can say that everything's cool with pretty much everybody who matters, who's important, who I think is important. Everything's good, and a lot of that, it all starts with forgiveness. And one thing I want to talk about is kind of like how life sort of changes you, because I know that in some cases, a lot of you guys have had, have had issues in your life where people have screwed you over, right? And I just want to say this, and I've said this before: if at any time during our time together, whether you found me from Geekdom 101 or World of Geekdom or whatever, that you think I've been rude to you, I do apologize. I never meant to be rude to anybody. Sometimes I'll make a weird joke that people don't get unless you're like of my age group, and people get offended because everybody's so offended nowadays over everything when there's not really anything to be offended about. Or, I'll have a bad day. And forgiveness is important, and people have screwed me over a lot as well. And I actually squashed a lot of beefs, including one recently that I've had for a very long time that I was surprised was actually able to get squashed due to a misunderstanding. And one of them is not on YouTube, actually. So the first thing I want to tell you all about forgiveness is, and this is really important, and this is something I have to constantly remind myself. So I want you all to constantly remember this. If somebody's rude to you or mean, it might not mean that they are a mean person. It might not be indicative of who they are as a person. They might just be having a bad day. And what I've seen happen a lot is I've seen people reach out to creators, and I'm not talking about myself now, but just other people, and the creator either doesn't respond or it says something kind of curt and they get offended. Now understand, if a creator says something curt, I mean, I'm not justifying their behavior here, but understand it might not be a personal thing. And if somebody doesn't respond to you, that doesn't mean they didn't see your comment, or it doesn't mean that they are ignoring you. They may not have seen your comment. You know what I mean? When you hit a certain level on YouTube, even though World of Geekdom is only at like 57K or whatever, I can't read every comment. I mean, I read most of them, but I just can't. There's just too much to read. And I definitely can't respond to every comment, especially just the ones that are like, good comments telling their story. It's not like I don't care. It's just I can't respond to everybody. There's not enough time. There's not enough hours in the day. And that goes for a lot of other creators. If you'll notice, the million sub channels rarely, if ever, talk to their fans. I mean, rarely, if ever. You rarely see it. And not because they're rude, but because there's so many of them. And then if you talk to one, the other ones get mad. So that's one thing you got to remember. But what I want y'all to understand is, and even in the real world, forget the internet for a minute, just in the real world, if people are rude to you or a dick, the first thing I want you to remember is, what if they're having a bad day? You have to remember that. You don't know what they've been through. They may have just found out that one of their friends had a tragedy happen to them. Maybe they had a tragedy happen to them. Maybe they got fired from their job. Maybe they just got some bad news from a doctor. Like you don't know what they're going through. And the problem is we forget that so much because our own defense mechanisms, our own egos are always there kind of putting a shield to protect us, not realizing that we might accidentally hurt somebody else. So forgiveness to me is a really important thing that I think a lot of us need to accept. And here's the way I kind of view it. If somebody screws you over, right, really badly, you're not obligated to forgive them. But if you choose to forgive them, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you soft or anything. It makes you just an adult, a grown-up, and a person who can just move past it. I've had people who I've let borrow money who have screwed me out of money. And in the past, I would get really mad about it. My new philosophy on that is, like, I would let them borrow money and they would never pay me back. And my new philosophy is, well, if they don't pay me back, then in my head, I can't trust them anymore and I won't let them borrow any more money. So in other words, it's almost like you're charging that to the game. You're basically saying, you know what? They screwed me. I'm not going to hold a grudge, but if they come back asking me for more help, I ain't going to give them nothing. You could treat it like that, but there's no point in holding any kind of hatred or animosity in your heart, especially if it's over something dumb. If somebody actually has tried to physically harm you or tried to harm you emotionally, financially, and has done it on a consistent level after you told them to stop, that's harassment. That's BS. You don't have to take that, and you shouldn't take it from anyone. But if somebody's just rude to you one time or says something you don't like one or two times, they might be having a bad day. You don't know. They might not really be an a-hole. Now, why does this go to my brother? So I don't talk about family too much, but I do here on Geekdom. My brother passed away last year of smoking-related deaths, and I did not find out my brother died until months after he died. And the reason for that's because me and my brother did not speak for 1997 was the last time we talked. No, actually it was '06, but so it was what? Like 19 years or something like that. 13 years and another like 10 years or whatever. It was like 9 years. It was a long time. So me and my brother, when we were younger, were very, very close. My brother would come over to my house because he was older than I was. He was already in college when I was born, right? So he would come over to my house. He's the one who introduced me to Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior. It was him. And that's my first time ever seeing Toriyama. And what do I do now? What am I known for now? The Dragon Ball guy. In many ways, it was because of him. Even though he didn't directly introduce me to Dragon Ball, he still kind of introduced me to Toriyama without even knowing what Toriyama was. He had no idea what Toriyama was. He just liked Dragon Warrior. That was my first exposure to Toriyama. He's the first person when I was a kid to show me Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Bruce Lee movies, Chuck Norris movies. My older brother, showed me a lot of things in my life and helped me become a nerd. He also was the one that got me into computers, and that's what wound up with me going to college and being an engineer, all because of my brother. My brother had a very important impact on my life. In 97, my brother got into an altercation with my mom, and there was physicality involved. You figure out the rest. I got really pissed at my brother. I threatened to hit him with a bat. A lot of stuff happened. I was 13 years old. It was really bad. So I'm letting y'all know these personal stories because these are things that have happened to me that I'm sure you've either seen or had happen to you at some point in your life where you have family squabbles and whatnot. So my brother my dad told my brother, you're not allowed over at the house anymore, you're gone. Now remember, by this time I was 13, he was in his 30s, he was already a grown man. My mom had him way back before I was born, right? Like, obviously he's an older brother, but I mean years before. There was a large gap between my mom's first son and me, her second son. Big gap. So anyways, we stopped talking for years. I never looked back, never even thought about him. I just moved on with my life, went to high school, went to college, all that good stuff. I wound up talking to him again in 2006, and this is after my mom passed away, and the conversation did not go very well. I pretty much told him, look, I don't really need you in my life right now. I'm doing good. I don't need you. He kind of got passive aggressive with me and kind of said some pretty rude things, and I just was like, okay, then piss off, So that happened. And then what wound up happening after that was I didn't speak to him for years. Now, last year, my brother died on April 17th, which was 3 days after my birthday. 3 days after my birthday, right? And I didn't know. I had no idea he died. I had heard rumors that my brother got married and had a kid, but I didn't know, right? So what wound up happening was, last summer, I'm in a Discord call with a bunch of my friends, and we're just shooting the shit. And somehow the topic went to my brother. I don't really remember how. And I cut a rant on him and the things he did. So I look up his name, and I find out that he passed away. And I was stunned. And I knew it was him because when I saw, like, pictures of him, it's him. Like, I recognize his face. He looks different, obviously. He's much older. I hadn't actually seen the guy since '06. But he's definitely older and whatnot. And I saw his wife and I saw his son. Like, pictures of them. And by this time, I was already in my 30s. This is last year. I'm already a grown man. I've got my house. Well, actually, I did not have my house at that time. But, I had my business. I didn't actually get my house until November of last year. But that's when I actually got it. You know what I mean? But I had an apartment. I I was grown. You know, he had never actually seen me grown before. You know what I mean? Like on my own. So when he died, I had a really weird kind of mix of emotions. And granted, he never really reached out to me. He never really tried to get to know me. According to the family, and I've only been able to speak to his wife's brother. I have not spoken to his wife yet. I actually have to try and reach back out to him because I wanna get to know. So I found out that I had a nephew. I have a nephew. I didn't know I had a nephew until last year, and he's 11 years old, and I want to reach out to him again. I reached out to them once and never got back to me. Well, the wife's sister did, but the nephew and the wife didn't, at least not yet. I'm going to try again to reach out to them, but sometime soon. I'm working on my health first, then I'll definitely do that. So he passes away, and I had no idea that he passed away, none. And like I said, I saw his wife and kid, and the kid's 11 years old, and his birthday's also in late April, mid to late April. And apparently his birthday was the week my brother died. Can you imagine your father dies the week of your birthday? Think about that for a minute. And they were planning a birthday party for him, and his dad died. I was destroyed. I was so destroyed. I can't even tell you. I'm getting emotional right now. And because, not so much for my brother, but for him. But I did have a weird mix of emotion because even though my brother never reached out to me, even though he never really tried to see how I was doing, even though he said some really mean things about me and my mom. I mean, there was one time when my brother said he hoped that we starved to death. Like, he actually said that about us when we were having financial issues. He said some really prickish things. It's one of those things where you have to understand that people say things out of anger sometimes. They don't mean it. And it really is trash that it turns out that way. And I didn't speak to him for years. Again, after the physical thing with my mom, because he put his hands on her, we didn't speak for a long time. And I'm sure he regrets it. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did, because apparently from what everybody said, he really was a good father to the kid. He really was a great father to the kid. And I feel very weird about it. And I just tell myself, like, okay, yeah, he never reached out to me. Should I have reached out to him? It's been 13 years since 06, or 12 years in 2018. Should I have reached out to him? Should I have tried to at least squash it, move on, and maybe meet his family? Yeah, I probably should have. And I'm going to try and meet his family, because I have photographs of him that they don't have, and they have photographs of me and my mom that I don't have. There's things that are missing, puzzle pieces in my life that they may have, because we had a lot of pictures of my family from Cuba. We had a lot of photographs that my dad was looking for years, and I think he's got them, because we all came over here together. You know, this is super personal, dude. I never talk about this kind of stuff. There's friends of mine who I've known for years that don't know this story, like about the pictures and my brother, you know. But again, I hated my brother for years. I'm being real with y'all. I wanted to kill my brother, seriously. But after thinking about it now, and you know what's sad, dude? He passed away. Like, he passed away while him and my nephew were watching television. He had a heart attack. He had a heart attack on the couch together. So imagine you are a 10-year-old kid, your birthday's coming up that weekend, and your dad dies in front of you. Like, I'm speechless, bro. And I don't know how much therapy that kid's gonna need. You know what I'm saying? And you know what's scary is, for all intents and purposes, he might be a listener. He might know who I am somehow. You never know. You never know who's listening. You never know who is listening to you when you're on YouTube. You want to upload a video? Oh man, it only got 100 views. What if that 100 views, somebody important or famous, or somebody who knows you, listens? You don't know. You never know. I've had people from high school find my channel, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So what I wanted to say is, I feel like, yeah, maybe he should have reached out to me, but you know what? I should have forgiven him. I should have been the bigger man. I didn't think about him. I didn't care. I was living my own life. I never had any reason to even reach out to him because I didn't need him in my life. He was nobody to me at that point. He was just a guy. Yeah, he got me into things, but I had squashed all that. I became very emotionless. But when he died and I found out what happened with his son, it's like, man, and I really want to be there for that kid. I'm going to try again to reach out to him probably later this summer. I'm going to try and see if maybe they can talk to me and I can meet them. Like actually meet them face to face, because I am the uncle, right? I'm the uncle, and it's just crazy what happened. So the message I'm trying to send out is, if you're fighting with somebody right now, squash it. I mean, if they've done something so wrong that you can't forgive them, I'm not going to tell you what to do. But if it's something silly, squash it. Resolve it. Try. At least try. And I'm not saying you got to do it tomorrow. But think about it. Think about it. Because you never know what could happen. You never know what could happen, especially if it's family. Family are the first ones to abuse you and take advantage of you, believe it or not. But they also are important to many, you know. That's my message. The importance of forgiveness. I hope that y'all take it and do something with it. Got very personal here. But it doesn't matter, because I get personal on these things so people know more about me, and so that you understand, you know, kind of my perspective on things, and so that you maybe take something from it. I'm trying to make the world better. That's my goal. Love you guys. I'll see you soon.